Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. I'm here with my great co-host Mike Samuel and my special guest, my man Mike Myers II. How y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Hey guys.
First of all, I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on our new show, our new network. You was on the other network, and you was trying to do some things with the NBA. First of all, Mike Myers is the CEO of the NBA, which is the Military Basketball Association, and he's done some tremendous things. He started like 5 years ago, and then he ended up getting on CBS. And then I was scrolling through Facebook, and I came across Mike, and I said, "What a great thing he's doing." So I reached out to him, and he came on my show, and then he came on the second show with Mike and I, my co-host Mike Samuel, and we wanted to do something for you. And it's a tribute to you and what you're doing. So for the folks who don't know, because we're on a new network, can you let them know what you're about and what you're doing, and talk about who you are?
Sure. First of all, thanks, Mike and Mike. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. My name's Mike Myers. I'm the commissioner of the Military Basketball Association, the founder. I have three other partners that have just done a really great job with our organization. Angel Acevedo, Jason LaFaciano, and our president of basketball operations, Albert Mayon. We've got some other great people that work for our organization, but Melissa Eastloss and Tara Ethington. So we are a very small group of people that really volunteer to try to to give people an outlet through basketball. Basketball is a team sport. It's what unites us all when we go through different struggles and different challenges as far as mental fitness. And so our military athletes play all across the country, all across the world in our organization. And we just have a great time giving them an outlet. And so far, it's been a success because we've gotten a chance to elevate our platform to Pluto TV and then ultimately championship game on CBS Sports. So it's been a really good journey.
Now, Mike, what exactly? Explain the journey, because 5 years ago, you probably weren't known. So, what was the journey, and how did it take to get 5 years to get where you got to?
Yeah, well, the journey for everyone in military basketball is long. Some people have done this for 30, 40 years and they've gotten no recognition.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my journey was I was able to, coach military basketball after my deployment. About 5 years after I had a really tough deployment in 2006, 2007. And after that, I bottled up a lot of the, different things that I'd seen over there in Iraq. And then in 2011, I got a chance to coach a military basketball team in Kansas. And what I realized was that was my outlet, coaching and mentoring young military men was it just really kind of helped propel me into something. So we had a lot of success with that team at Fort Riley. I went to Korea in 2013, had an incredible season over there, won everything in Korea, came back to the United States in 2014, got a chance to win two back-to-back national championships in 2015, 2016. And then it was like, for a while, it was like, well, what are you going to do next? And so the Army selected me to be the All-Army women's basketball team coach in 2017. And so this whole time, I'm just coaching military basketball. And then from 2017, silver medal. And then in 2019, we won the gold medal in 2019. And in 2017, 18, we formed the NBA because, I had started to get a lot of, notoriety and building a lot of these programs. And so it was like, well, why not take what we've been doing at a community level and turn it into a national and global effort. And so, me and a couple of our coaching peers came together and decided, hey, this is really what we need to do. And 2018, we held our first tournament in Colorado Springs. 16 teams showed up, and we've been on a roll ever since. I mean, 19, we're at the Air Force Academy. 2021, even in COVID. COVID was tough, but we still gave out end of seasons awards during COVID. 2021, we were in Denver. 2022, we were in Denver. Last year, we were in Wichita. Next year, we're going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so laying the groundwork for such an amazing program is not something that I can take credit for myself. I have an awesome team. We have a coaches council. And so all of these things that we put into place are an effort to really, truly promote the military athlete, first in military basketball, but ultimately our goal is to promote the military athlete across the world.
And Mike, I'm so proud of what you're doing. What gave you the impetus to even think about going national and trying to go on CBS?
Last year was a tough year, and people who know me know it was a tough year. Tough year for me, tough year for the NBA. We had gotten to a space where we had, really we had plateaued. It was like the same stuff, the same live streaming, and we were capturing great moments, but they weren't at the level that they needed to be at. And so, I reached out to everybody, anyone who would listen, and I got a chance to talk with a good friend at Paramount VetNet. They are an awesome company. They help, military veterans that are looking to get into entertainment. And so we just, at that point, she introduced me, opened doors for us to get into the space of CBS, and she knew some people that may have this be able to put our game on national television. And she it was just by chance, literally by chance, that the senior producer, executive producer, or senior vice president of programming opens up the book, and the date that was in question was available. Right after a WNBA game or before a WNBA game, we had this time slot was there to host the game, and I was amazed. It was a lot of work, a lot of effort that went into just getting to an agreement. And now we have an agreement with them for 3 years, and it's a blessing. I mean, in less than 6 months, our organization was on CBS Sports, and then we have a 3-year commitment from them to host the championship game on Memorial Day weekend for the next 3 years. It's phenomenal. It doesn't normally happen. I know that. We're blessed. And so we're going to use our platform to help a lot of people.
Now, Mike, before we get into the mental aspect of what you do as well, first of all, I want to thank you for your services and for helping us be able to do what we do. So I want to give you my thanks and praise for what you do. And, Mike, we are here, Mike and I are here to try to, you're doing so many great things, but we have some connections, which I'll talk to you about at the end of the show. I think you're going to be very satisfied. But, my man, Mike, my co-host, he has done some research on you as well. So, Mike, take over. Let him know what you've been doing.
Mike, it's great to see you. I know we missed each other last night trying to connect on a couple of things, but we can connect further down the line.
Sure.
It was very, very cool seeing your games on television. That was great to see. I was really, really, really happy to see that. And it was like I couldn't wait to tell more people that it was actually on. So the pictures that I shared with you, I sort of shared everywhere as fast as I could. So it was very, very cool to see. One of the things that I've done personally, and this has been in the last couple of weeks, was I started to try to regenerate myself on a couple of different things. Is I started to write a blog on a couple of different things, probably about 10 different things I have ready to go. And one of the things I started getting into was the PTSD side of things and some anxiety issues that I've come across in my own writings, which has been a little bit difficult to try to get down on paper and try to communicate. And so when I started getting into this, and really looking at sort of where you are and some of the other people, Michael, that you and I have talked to on a regular basis about just the mentoring side of things, right? Where different people are coming out to mentor individuals at different levels, at different stages of their lives. And it's very, I don't know if this is purposeful on your side, Michael, that we've actually been able to have a number of people on who are in that on that same path, which is just trying to help people at what to do whatever they need to be done, right? So if it's basketball wise, if it's education, if it's just having someone who they can talk to. So I've been really impressed trying to get into what you guys are trying to do for the men and women around you. And I'd like you to really go into that a little bit more. And one of the things that I've really started to pay attention to, again, from my own writings and my own personal information, is trying to, and I know this is a little bit more of going at kind of a deep dive on some of this, but is the PTSD side and the PTSI side of things, right? So it gets a little bit technical on some of this, right? So I went deep on this, Mike. I just want you to know that I went deep this week on a couple of different things. I went into the DSM to actually get some definitions on some things and trying to understand where I was coming from so I could pretend I knew what I was talking about. So if you could you expand upon that for me as far as that level of identification and the treatment that actually comes into what you guys are involved with?
So first and foremost, I'm not a clinical therapist, psychologist, LCSW, counselor. But the way I look at it, there's PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And then there's PTSI, which I believe I survived with. And I'll talk a little bit about that, suffering versus surviving. Um, Post-traumatic stress injury. Okay. So when you go to, a traumatic, a battlefield, or you're out there and you're deployed and you have, different things happen to you, um, you see so many things that are tragic and trauma. It's trauma going into the brain. So when you see something that's just so traumatic, you have injured your brain. Your brain is injured, right? You can't unsee those things. Your brain is injured, right? And a lot of people don't understand, but that's the difference. You have suffered a traumatic event, and it's an injury to your psyche and to your brain. And so that's kind of, that even has some biological, things that go into it that that affect the brain. It makes the brain do different things. It's, affected, set different serotonin levels and all kinds of stuff that we talked about as far as, when you go into a deep dive, it triggers anxiety. All of that stuff comes with what I believe I survived with, right? And so there's a difference, because if you have a disorder, that's saying, hey, that's something totally different than, hey, look, I was fine before I got this injury. I suffered an injury. I saw something, and you can fix that. There's ways that you can go out and you can try to um, you know, treat and heal an injury, right? Where versus a disorder, that's something a little bit more complicated and more complex. So we tell people all the time, it's post-traumatic stress injury. Guys saw some stuff over there and they can't unsee it. You can suffer from both. Okay. You can suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. You can suffer from post-traumatic stress injury. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor, but I believe there's a difference between suffering from something, which means you're suffering from an illness. You don't have really a cure for it. You haven't really kind of worked out some things to um, to treat that illness, and you're still going through the motions of dealing with what it is that you have. Surviving, surviving is something that you figured it out. You've got a treatment plan. You don't hear about cancer sufferers, right? You hear about cancer survivors, right? And so that's the thing to me that's really key, is that I don't suffer from anything. I'm a survivor. I survived Iraq. I survived Baghdad, all those convoys and stuff that I was on. I survived. I'm here to tell about it. But so with same thing with post-traumatic stress injury, we can survive um, the trauma that we faced when we were deployed, a lot of our veterans. And that's not just veterans, anyone who's been through some type of personal, um, challenge to their mental fitness, they can survive it. Nothing is so bad that you have to, resort to harmful behaviors to heal yourself. You can survive whatever it is that you're going through. And so I just, I think there's a difference there.
Mhm.
What we do, as an organization, just to kind of give you an idea, the treatment is the basketball, the sports, the team, the camaraderie. When you have all those different things, that unite someone together, you change the stigma. It's easier for me to talk to my coach, my peer, my player about some of the things that are challenging to me. Um, when I go to, hey, I've got therapy. I've got a therapist. I need to talk to someone. I'm talking to someone. If the coach is saying that or the team captain saying that, sure. Why wouldn't someone who's suffering from something or surviving or choosing to survive something come forward and say, hey, look, I don't want to suffer anymore. I'd like to survive.
Now, Mike, um, I mean, it's great all the things you're doing with the NBA. And we spoke about that the last time you came on the show. But what I really wanted you on the show was talking about the PTSD and the emotional and the mental aspect of it, because the last time we didn't really get a chance to really talk about it. But I think it's so important because people like myself, my ex died in my arms, and I don't know how I'm still dealing with it. And I want the viewers to know that, you know, they're not alone in their feelings. And, it's still bothering me and having a hard time dealing with what I dealt with when someone's that you love died in your arms. And I'm going to keep it real, shit come out of her nose and her mouth, and witnessing that. I mean, it was not like in Vietnam or overseas, but it still has that, I guess, that feeling of, how you're going to get over it, how you're going to deal with it. And that's really what, Mike, we're going to talk about all your exploits with the basketball, but I really wanted to talk about the PTSD and the mental aspect of it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things, and one first and foremost, Mike, my heart goes out to you, for your loss,
Mm,
and having to go through that.
hmm
Um, I lost my best friend this summer. You know, it's tough. He had breast cancer. And
wow.
27 years of just great friendship. And I never even got a chance to say goodbye. You know, um,
I've been there, bro. I've been there.
so you know, and it's a tough thing. Because any type of loss is trauma. It doesn't matter. It's still trauma. You lose someone, it's trauma. It doesn't matter how you lose them, but sometimes the way you lose someone or how they go away, that has a lasting effect. It's more trauma. And so, for me, um, this is a mission because we're losing so many people. So many people are losing people through suicide, and then other people are not understanding that there are programs out there and things out there for you to cope. It's just it's tough, and the PTSD is something that this country is starting to get faced with. Is society is really trying to do more to educate the public and people about it. But at the end of the day, we just need more education around it. Mike said he got into the DSM.
Yes,
A lot,
yes.
a lot of people don't know what that is, right?
I don't either.
But I think there's one of them sitting over here somewhere. But super, super. Hold on a second. Hold on one second. I got an 8-year-old kid, so um,
Hey, we understand. We understand.
But you know, we the getting into the science and the weeds of it all is not something that society is necessarily interested in, right? But understanding and educating people that are suffering from these things and transitioning them from suffering to surviving, that's what's important. You know, learning the different skills, um, you know, to accept, you know, these things that happen. There's a term that I learned when I was you know, I was going through some classes, you know, with post-traumatic stress. Um, it's called radical acceptance. You know, it's a skill that you learn, right? And getting to a place of radical acceptance that, you know, bad things happen to people, bad things are going to happen to you, and understanding how to live um, through these things and understanding that there's certain things that are just out of your control, and accepting that um, is truly important. And that's just one skill, one of the skills that I learned. You know, another one is mindfulness. You know, and so we look at um, post-traumatic stress injury, and the question that we should all ask each other is, are we mindful of those people that suffer from these things or survive with them? You know, is what we're saying mindful? Are we respecting them? Are we treating them like they are castaways and, you know, oh, I can't mess with you, you have post-traumatic stress disorder? Because that's the stigma that exists in our society. You know, oh, his PTSD is going off, you know, or whatever, for whatever reason. Are we being mindful as a society? Are we being mindful? Am I saying, you know, hey, Mike, you know, I understand you went through a loss, um, and understanding that as you go through your day-to-day life, there's not a second or moment that goes by where you're not thinking about your loss. Am I understanding that? Am I mindful of that? Am I, empathetic to another person? And that's literally what the NBA is about. Literally what the NBA is about. What we're saying is we're going to use team sports. We're going to choose team sports as a mechanism and as a tool to unite everybody so that we're mindful and that people that don't accept the things and the circumstances that have come upon them, that it's okay for them to do that. And that's just what we're about. It's a great platform. Sports is what unites us all. You know, you look back in history, you've got Jackie Robinson, you've got, Jesse Owens, you've got all these Muhammad Ali, you've got different people, Bill Russell, that have all, come together at a certain point in time in our nation's history and brought us together through their exceptional play and athleticism, and then through the things that they're saying when they're in the the public sphere, they're able to actually communicate out there and talk to people. So I'm
Now,
excited
Mike,
about it.
you know, I guess when I reached out to you in other uh, programs and other platforms, I kept saying that, I'm a historian. But when I sat down and spoke with Sam Jones, I
Okay.
got a hit of reality. And I am no longer claiming that I'm a historian because of what they went through, the Celtics went through back in the 60s, how they
Okay.
won championships and couldn't eat at the same restaurant, couldn't stay at the same hotel. Bill Russell won a championship, goes home, and they put feces on his side of his house. So I come from a different program, and the fact is, because I'm old as dirt, and the reason why I really wanted you on is, anybody can read a book, anybody can read stats, but what you went through, you served. So who am I to talk about you and what you did when you experienced it? And the same thing with Sam Jones. I claim I'm a historian, but he actually experienced it. You know what I mean? So I come from a different perspective now. And the reason why I really wanted you on the show is because, like I said, sports is great. It helped me in my career, but you know something? There's more to life than sports. And that's why I wanted you on because I see what you're doing. I see you with your martial arts. I see all the things you've done. And yeah, you're a bad boy. I ain't never messing with you. But I mean, I see all the things you've done. And, with your son. And I'm just so impressed with what you're doing. And it seems to me, after what you've been through, which is way more than I've been through, you seem to still keep it going. And I know for a fact the people who are watching, somebody must be going through kind of what I went through, or maybe somewhat what you went through. And even though this is a sports show, Mike, I've been given a platform to make a difference, to try to make uh, some substance. And that's why I thank you so much for coming on the show. To me, this is way more important than sports.
It is. It's bigger than sports. I tell everybody that all the time. Our focus this year is bigger than basketball. So there's a lot of things that we've got to arm our coaches with, because we're a little bigger platform now, and so you never know when someone's gonna put a mic in one of our coaches' hands and just say, hey, what do you think? And we need to be able to speak to why we're doing this. Each coach around the country, um, really is an antenna. My Sifu used to say your fingers are their antennas, and you can feel, when you're doing martial arts and stuff like that. Your fingers and your hands are really important, to just feel things out. And our coaches are our first frontline feelers, to what's going on, in some of these, military's lives and guys' lives. And so, but yeah, it's bigger than basketball. Like, I mean, if 22 people a day, and we don't know if that's the number, it could be less, it could be more, it doesn't matter. But if 22 people a day are making the ultimate decision to commit suicide because they can't
Hmm.
take, the stresses of some of this trauma that they've seen, um, that's 8,000 people a year. That's about 8,000 people. That's a lot of people, and we got to do something about that. There's no one in the military now that hasn't been affected by suicide. Not one person. Everyone has. There's no one in our society that hasn't known someone or known of someone that has made a bad decision, a harmful decision to harm themselves. So I'm out here speaking on it because it touched me personally. It's touched me a couple times personally, and I don't want it to happen to anyone else. I think if you give people an outlet to let their trauma, let their frustrations, sports, get that out, I think it's a good thing. And our coaches are doing a hell of a job, building their teams and their organizations. And then we're doing a hell of a job, creating events that showcase these teams and showcase these coaches. So it's a great trade off, and I applaud everybody on the effort.
Now, Mike, before I let my co-host, who's tremendous, again, I want to place the importance. What if someone came to you, let's say a coach or a young man or woman, and they contemplate suicide, or they weren't happy with where they're standing, whether it be their financial status or their environment? What would you tell them? Because no, something, I want this show to make an impact.
998, straight up. That's the number that you dial. It's like 911. There's a that number, I believe it's 998. That will get someone to you immediately, through you text that number, and that will get someone to you immediately to get you the help that you need. Um, we have to make things a lot easier. There used to be like a crisis hotline and all that stuff, but what people are doing today is they're on their phones. And so you text 998, and someone's going to be there someone will help you out, and that way, a person like me, won't, be, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, I'm not the professional. The first thing we need to do is try to get people who are thinking about harming themselves to a professional, and use our platform, as a means to do so. So, um, and the VA is doing some incredible work. Um, and so we just, we applaud them in that. But if someone were to come to me and do that, that's exactly what I do.
Now, Mike, well, I want to one more before I let my co-host come on. What if there's a parent who has a child that they cannot reach, and they see that child is depressed, suicidal? what is the best way or the best method for them to proceed?
Oh man, that's a really technical question.
I
Um,
know, I know, but
that's a that's a
I want
loaded
this show to make
question.
an impact, Mike. I want this show to make an impact. So,
I could just, I mean, they should seek professional help and guidance. You know, there are plenty of, licensed therapists and licensed psychiatrists and psychologists out there, that can help, and they have specialty care, for children. So I would definitely, if you see visible signs of something like that, seek the professionals. Don't look at what you see on television or Google it or see something on the internet. Find a professional to have assess, and I say assess your loved one.
all right, my man, you go witness my co-host, Mike Seven. He's the man. Go ahead, Mike.
I always get this big buildup from Michael, and I feel like I have to kind of come through on some things. Um, so, just following up on some of the pieces you were just talking about the mindfulness of this, and one of the things that has struck me with research or just being aware of some of my surroundings and dealing with who I have to deal with on a daily basis, it's sort of that sight unseen, right? It's not an injury you can see. And I think that's one of the issues that is most relevant to this, where it's not visible. So it's not something you can see actually there in the first place, and you don't see it heal, you don't see it change, right? So it becomes this anecdotal piece for someone as far as what they're living with and what they're trying to survive, to your point, Mike, about how do you actually deal with that complexity, and how do you navigate through your life with, as a professional, as a private person, as a family man, and all of that, right? So there's that piece that gets to be really complicated when you start to look at this. And one of
Right.
the things that has struck me, and I think we talked about this the last time, is just society in itself, right? And what it looks like from the outside in. And every time we have a situation in this country where there is mass violence, it comes down to oh, there's a mental health disorder, there's a disorder there, and we don't do anything about that. I know I'm going on a rant here, but we don't do anything about that. We use that as a convenient out to not deal with the complexity of the issue, which is not one issue, it's not one topic, it's a multiplier, right? And that's where I get lost on some of this stuff. And one of the things I think we had talked about in the past, and I'd like to kind of revisit this, is how do we deal with this? And this is sort of a global question. How do we deal with it as a society? And how do we deal with this politically, where it gets more attention? And part of this comes from my background a little bit, which is dealing with healthcare, the healthcare industry, the finance side of things. And I know what that looks like. I know what those reimbursements look like and how poor it is. And that's why we don't go there, right? That's just my opinion as far as trying to enhance that. So, in a future life, I would have loved to have been an administrator that could drive that forward. And
Right.
so that's something that I would really like to talk to you about, as what can we do? Is there something else that can be done politically to move that topic to the top of the list, where we start dealing with people and what's really taking place with them within healthcare itself?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, I think you got to figure out how you can fund organizations like ours, right? We're doing a lot of work on our own without getting any pay. This is just us saying, hey, we love basketball and we're using our platform, um, to help people. So there's a way to fund the few individuals that we have that run this thing. I think that's the first start. And then the second thing is you have to educate the public. I mean, we've seen how, I mean, we've seen all these marketing dollars and all that stuff, but the public's not educated on what's really going on. The fact that they're just not, and we need to educate them on it. And that comes from within some of the healthcare industry as well. You can't just, the healthcare industry is, $1 trillion industry. So do we do we just let is it do we just let it go and let everything happen, um, and not worry about the numbers of, as these suicides are, in my opinion, are rising. Um, and so it's just, one of those things where I feel like, you know, we're at a critical point where, we can keep the status quo, we can actually do something that's going to impact and reduce the number of suicides that we see across the board, across the country. So, that's just kind of, where I stand on that.
And Mike, let me tell you something real quick. About 2 months ago, one of my great friends, his name was David Rose, great basketball, high school player, collegiate player, great family, great kids, great job, and all of a sudden he decided to commit suicide. And to this day, I don't know why, I don't know how. 2 weeks prior to that, another young individual in his 30s ended up going into the kitchen, getting a gun, and shooting himself in the head in front of his dad. So, I know I'm from the hood, and it's tough growing up in this environment. But I'm just trying to deal with the loss and the potential that these individuals could have had. And I'm fortunate. I'm 63 years old. I'm from the hood, and I made it. And thank God through my friends and my family.
You said you're from the hood?
I am. Oh yeah.
Roxbury?
No.
Okay.
That's the real hood. I'm kind of the fake hood. That's the real hood. I'm kind of the fake hood. I'm from New Bedford. Roxbury's the real hood. Now I'm like semi hood.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to show you a little bit of my education on Boston, up in that area. So I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Boston, Dorchester, Roxbury.
Hood, and I know where he's. I know where he's from. It's really not the hood. It isn't. I know what that's like.
He's kind of right. He's kind of right.
I have a really good friend named Vanessa. I'm not sure if she might be watching this. I'm not sure, but she is she lives up in that area where you guys are now. And I keep telling her I'm going to visit, and I probably will before the end of the year. But no, it's a great area, and there are different, things. I just, you'll never know when it comes to knowing when someone's going to just make a decision to exercise a harmful behavior. You never know.
Yeah.
You just can't know. But what you can do is you can do everything you can to know, right? To check on people, check on your friends. People check on me. My good friend Anna checked on me. She's like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. You've been going through some things, and so what's going on? I've known her for 18 years, and so she's just called, said, hey, you didn't call me back. And then she called me and said, hey, what's going on? Do I need to fly out there and see you? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. I just, I was tired, and, I just missed your call, and, sorry. But, we never know. But those are the types of friends, and that's the type of mentality that I believe our society has to develop, because what we lived with in the past was, we don't care, so you kill yourself, okay, nobody cares. And so we don't want to be in that situation. Society's not in that situation. You've lost so many people a year due to this. It's everyone's responsibility to check on each other, and that way, when something like that happens, you can honestly say, we never knew. We had no idea.
Too, Mike, to me being old as dirt, to me, sports is a privilege. It's not a right. And I think that, especially for the athletes and all what we see so many athletes doing so many spousal abuse and doing some stupid things that they do as well. And I kind of want to bring attention to that as well. It's like, Mike, I look back, and when I was growing up, we didn't do things that they do now. We didn't There was not all this gun shooting. You know, you had a beef with somebody, you go handle it one on one. But now it's all about the guns. These kids are having kids, and it's tough for the community. And that's kind of why I like doing the show I do, because uh, uh, the network has given me the platform to not just talk about basketball or sports, which is, you know, I feel comfortable talking about sports with anybody. But when talking about life issues, I'm very uncomfortable, and that's why I want to do on the show, and of course my great co-host, to explain to the viewers, because I'm sure they feel the same way. They're worried about what the score was. I'm worried about saving lives, especially the youth. You know what I mean? I've been a referee for 40 years. I see what's going on, and you know, I've given out over 300 recognition awards. Not trying to talk about me, but to recognize people who are doing the right thing. But you got those who sit back and don't do a damn thing but complain about everything, and that's my issue. I keep, hey, Mike, I keep it real.
And,
So
and you got to keep it real, because we have those same people. There's a
yeah,
lot of people like that.
you know, but that's really.
I did want to jump in real quick.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, along the lines of the sports metaphor, right? As far as using that as a platform, right? And again, we've been discussing sports in and around different topics. We've been talking about people who are mentors, who are leaders, and trying to help men and women, you know, young people trying to figure out what they want to do. But it's also this line of, and I think, you know, I think both Michael and Mike, we can agree on this, that sports is very much it comes across as, or it's developed as, a line of self-expression, right? You
Yes.
have that piece of it where your brain needs that. I know what I go through as a person today, that I need that activity, right? I need my brain to actually be able to shut down and let my body take over. And it's that endorphin that starts to change things, right? And it's that ability for your body to adapt and for your brain to adapt. So the basketball side, in the leadership that it creates in that outlet, right? That's that level of, for me, right? Personally, it has been a line of self-expression for my entire life, either on a tennis court, on a soccer field, running, playing basketball, whatever it happened to be. That was my outlet to actually get some things and just kind of clear your head and deal with some things, right? So if you're dealing with a stressful thing as a person and you want to go out and play basketball for 3 hours or 2 hours to kind of just burn that out, that's that, you know, that's the other side of your brain as far as how it reacts. So I think that's the piece where, you know, the NBA comes in, as far as that level of self-expression and being able to express yourself physically, right? To actually be able to deal with that.
Yeah, it is. And gentlemen, I gotta go in like 4 minutes. I apologize.
Okay. No problem.
I've got to take the daughter to guitar practice. But
Priorities,
um,
priorities. Bro.
no, but no, the NBA is expression. You know, I was just talking to the deputy commissioner about this the other day. Everybody who sees our logo, or sees us on CBS Sports, you know, it's a form of expression. These guys are out there playing ball, playing hard so they can, you know, get notoriety. Not really. I mean, they're in it for the Marines, or their Army soldiers, or their Air Force, you know, their airmen, you know, or the sailors. You know, they're out there for them.
Exactly.
And if if while they're out there on a platform, higher platform, they can say something or do something that saves, you know, 1,000 lives, you know, collectively or even individually, of course, we want to be a part of it. We want to use our platform to do good.
And Mike, I know you got to go. So before you go, I'm sure a lot of people have tuned in, and hopefully they've been very receptive to what you and Mike and I are saying. How can they get in touch with you? How can they see you and see your platform and what you're doing for the NBA? And maybe they can contribute, or maybe they can help out in some way, shape, or form.
The best way to get a hold of me is through my email, commissioner at mymbaglobal.com. Commissioner at and that's MYMBA global.com. Or you can call me. I mean, my number is 254-368-1180. I screen all my calls, but I will, if you call me or text me, um, I'll get to it eventually, and I will answer you back if you want more information. And then our website, or overall stuff on our website to get in touch with us. Um, It's mynbaglobal.com.
Well, Mike,
mynbaglobal.com.
well, Mike, thank you again for coming on the show.
Yes,
I think this is your third time, and we're gonna have you back again.
I gotta come out. I'm gonna come out and do this show with you guys while I'm in Boston.
You got to. We got you. We got you.
I'm gonna try and come out and do the show. I'll be in Philly, and I'll be in New York. And I gotta go see my friend in Boston. So, or just outside of Boston. And so I'll do that. I'll definitely keep in touch with you guys. I really appreciate you guys giving me the platform.
I'm gonna hold you to that, Mike.
Yes. Hey, Mike, reach out to us. We got you. Hey, Mike, we love you. I love what you're doing. That's why I keep asking you to come on the show. I think it's meaningful, and it's more than basketball. And again, I want to thank you for your services and what you've done to keep us doing what we're doing. So I'm going to give you your roses, and thank you for coming on, and we'll be talking very soon. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you.
Hey, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
Now, Mike, just you and I, my man. So what's going on with you?
Oh, just way too much. You want to talk some basketball while we got a few minutes?
We got about 10 minutes. Let's hit it. Whatever you want to talk about.
Let's talk about the big trade this week.
Okay, let's roll.
So, I sent you a bunch of things last night as far as where I was coming from. So, I don't really know the fallout to this, though. I don't know where I guess I don't know where Holiday is going. I don't know where some of the other pieces are going, because I don't think this is all done as far as all of that movement with all those players and all those picks. I do think this actually changes the East a little bit as far as what's really going to take place with Milwaukee and trying to get through the East. And so I think that was an interesting move. But I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. My phone keeps ringing. I'm always busy. Go ahead.
So what was I going to say? Oh, I don't know how these actually two guys play together, right? I mentioned that to you in text, that I'm very interested to see when you have two great players playing with each other, and they really haven't had that kind of dynamic before. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I went and did not research, because I already know. Very rarely have you have a superstar go to a team and that team actually won a championship. I think you guys going to revert to Kawhi when he went to Toronto. But before that, I don't think there's too many. Like you said, a whole new, matter of fact, Adrian Griffin, new coach, a new system. They're going to take a while to get together. Dame averaged 32. I think Giannis averaged 31. What's that dynamic? And what role does Middleton play? And how is their bench going to react? I think people are jumping to the conclusion, well, hey, they're going to be the team to beat. Don't go by that. Do not go by that, man. It's all about the fit. It's about how well they and someone's going to have to sacrifice. Who? I don't know. I would imagine it's going to have to be Dame, because that's Giannis's team. I'm sure he's going to have to sacrifice, but he's willing to pass as well. To be honest with you, I know he wanted to go to Miami, but he had no leverage. He was not, unfortunately, he was not like Bradley Beal, who had a no trade clause in his contract, so he can go wherever he destined to go. Right. Whereas Portland sent him, I'm surprised they sent him to Milwaukee, but that's probably what they felt the best return for the value of Dame. I'm telling you, I already told you. Matter of fact, I texted you. I don't think they're going to make it to the East Front. I'm worried about Boston. I think Boston has the tools, the bench, and everything to become the front runner of the East. I think people are hopping on that Milwaukee train too fast.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen, I think, for our own history, as far as our knowledge on this, is that usually when those big moves are made, coming out of the gate, if you're not there and you're stumbling, everyone's all over you from the media.
Yeah, as far as, absolutely.
So that you from their side, you better hope that you come out strong and you start to show yourself. Because you and I both know, right, that it's very much a roller coaster ride through a long season where there's a lot of ups and downs. There's injuries you have to kind of wrap your head around and deal with. So I agree with you regarding Boston, but I don't think Boston's done. I think Brogdon is another piece that they've been trying to move for a while.
Holiday?
So yeah, I know.
And one more thing, Mike, before I have to interrupt you. Do you know that Dame's going to be 33, 34? He got 3 years still remaining under his contract. And at the end, it's 60 million per year. How is that going to affect the salary cap? And with the new CBA, I don't know how that fits in well. Now, he's playing with Giannis, of course, and he's got a great opportunity. He's going to be on the winning team for years. How far they go, I don't know. But to me, Mike, I just think that these exorbitant contracts, I mean, up to 60 million at the end. Now, you know damn well when you reach that apex, you start to go down. And now he's going to be making more money as his skills go down. Chris Paul, I can give you tons of examples, but I'm not quick to hop on that Milwaukee train. I'm sorry.
No,
and with Boston,
I'm there with you. In this case, I'm a wait and see person because I really want to see it, and I'm hoping that it works because it'll create that more competition on the East side on a more regular basis, and you can have a better discussion about what's really taking place on the East. So yeah, the money that's there at the end, I'm not sure he's there at the end with Milwaukee. And then those things start to get renegotiated when you're trying to find a place to play. In comparison to what you're talking about, what Chris Paul has gone through, right? Chris Paul has had to take less money every time he's moved. Yeah. So, then you have this other situation where if you start to defer money down the line, that may save him too. But yeah, there's a lot of miles on him in not playing for a great organization where he was really relied upon, and that's his role. And his role with that team is going to be different, right? It's, as you said, he's going to have to defer more to Giannis, and we'll see how all that works.
And Milwaukee also has to compensate for his defensive liabilities. I'll put it that way. And the fact is, too, Mike, as you get older, those injuries start coming a little bit frequently. And you're paying this guy $55, $54, $60 million a year. And you may not be able to get what the value that he would be if he was 28, 29, 30.
Right. Well, what's going to be interesting, Michael, and I mentioned this earlier, is the regular season where he hasn't been challenged, right? His team hasn't been very good, right? He had one good run in the playoffs a few years ago where they went deep, but, he's not been challenged in the regular season with the competition he's going to face in the East, especially out of Boston, maybe New York, maybe Philadelphia. Those types of teams you're going to run into. And that's tough, right? If you're not used to that on a regular basis, your game has to change.
And a good example is when LeBron made that big interview about going to Miami. Mm-hmm. It took them a long time to joke. That's what I'm saying. It's going to take. They got a new coach, Adrian Griffin, who I know of very well when he played for the Celtics, and he coached at Toronto. I mean, he's a good coach. At some place for the Atlanta Hawks. New coach, new system. It's not going to be that quick. It's going to take a while to gel. And then they got the other guy, my cousin James Harden. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows how he's going to fit in as well. I mean, even though he's with Milwaukee, I'm talking about Philadelphia as far as with the new coach as well, because they got a new coach. Milwaukee got a new coach. Toronto got a new coach. So I'm thinking, what effect is these new coaches going to have? Now, Griffin is going to be coaching Milwaukee. Now, what's funny, Mike? I'm going to keep it real with you. If they start on a winning streak, they're going to say, well, Griffin's a great coach. Mm. It's the players. But when it comes down to the real deal, when they got to play Boston, when they got to play the other teams in the East, we're going to really find out. Now, how much did Milwaukee give up and what did they get? Now we're going to find out. What about their bench? I mean, they got Portis. I mean, he's going to be a major factor. They got Lopez, of course. They got Giannis. They got Connaughton. They got Middleton. I mean, they got a good team. I think they're going to be very, very good. Matter of fact, they had the best record last year. I think they may be somewhat doing the same thing this year, but I don't see them getting past the East Finals. I don't know what you think.
I'm sort of there with you. I'm sort of a wait and see person, as I said earlier on this. I want to see, how deep is that team, right? Because that's, in the end, that gets you over in those positions where you may have to rest guys during the game for a little bit, maybe foul trouble, maybe an injury, where not long stretches where you need your bench, but you need them in short spurts to carry you to kind of get you to the next quarter, the next 2 minutes, those kinds of things, where the Celtics in Philadelphia for a period of time, certainly Miami has that flexibility to a certain extent that can get their players some rest, let the great players come in and finish a team off. That's the big difference. So I do think they gave up some players there that, we're taking up some minutes. Now you got to really go find those guys that actually can be productive.
And the big word for me is continuity. I don't think Milwaukee has that because of the changes that they made. And also, number two, with the Celtics, they just paid Brown the biggest contract in NBA history. What do you think Tatum's going to get next year?
Well, I think, I think as we talked a couple of weeks ago.
Yes,
I think they're going to have to step up and pay him. They're not going to let him go. And
nope.
So as I said to you when we were talking about Brown, he was the highest paid player for that day because the next day someone else's contract is coming up, and they're going to be the next highest paid. Just like you have with quarterbacks in the NFL, all the quarterbacks want to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, but that's temporary because there's another guy coming that wants to get paid too.
Now, before we go, because we're kind of running out of time, what is your take on the Lakers?
I don't see much of a change with them, right? I just think they just brought players in, try to satisfy something. I don't really see anything dramatic happening with them. I think they're going to be what they're going to be. Unfortunately, their two stars seem to be very injury prone and can't really get yourself through where they need to be. I think, the days of LeBron, that's fine. I don't really see, he's not going to put you in a position to actually win a championship. He may challenge, he may make some news as he tends to do. The Lakers do, but I'm not that impressed. I don't see them much as a factor, to be honest.
I kind of agree with you. Now, Mike, before we go, I want the viewers to know about your memoir. I want people to know and pump it. Can you give us a couple minutes about what you're doing and how they can hopefully get a reading, find out a little bit about what you're doing, because you are that good. You heard? You're that good.
So thank you for that. So a little bit of progress in the last couple of weeks on some things. I mentioned earlier about doing some blogs, and really why I was doing that was to really kind of motivate myself to start writing again and get back engaged to it, and just trying to get my brain to go around that, because I've been busy doing some other things. I was happy with that review that I posted. I gave to you online. I posted that. That was pretty cool of how that came about. There's some interesting things that I have, and unfortunately, it's one of these things I think I've mentioned is I have stuff everywhere that I've written. I need to really just spend the time and just start to really pull it together, because I think I might be surprised about how much has actually been completed. So I'm going to keep plugging away at it. I mentioned to you privately, and I can certainly talk about it here a little bit. I wrote some things that were hard to write that I went through. And so that's sort of created a pause for me as far as emotionally on some of this stuff. And I still have a couple more things I need to get down on paper that I've been admittedly hesitating on, and I need to kind of follow through with this. So it's been interesting, Michael. The journey has been interesting going through this, and lots of conversations with you, lots of conversations online with my dad, with my wife, trying to just, revisit some of this stuff. And, when we mentioned some things about impacts in your life and what's really taking place, the issue with Mike, as far as the PTSD side of things and the emotional side and suicides, they come to you in weird times, right? So not to go long on this, but, coming from a small town that visited our town at one point, where, a child in our particular school went through with this. And that was difficult on all of us to kind of understand. And we were young kids when this happened. And you don't really kind of process it, because it touches you, but you're so young, it doesn't really impact you until later when you think about it. Like, geez, we lost this person. This person was with us for a period of time, and the school system in Acushnet was, kind of coming together when I moved there. So you didn't know a lot of these kids. All of a sudden you're in one large school and you start to see kids you've never saw before. And then something happens, right? And so, there's a little bit of this tragedy there, and it's unfortunate in it. But to your point, as far as your personal experiences, Mike's experiences, everyone, it touches everyone at some point. And so it's really just trying to have those mechanisms to try to process it and manage it. Like, that's, as to your points you were making earlier, that's hard. And it's an individual thing trying to figure your way through that. And I use the word navigate because I think that's pretty accurate as far as that sentiment goes. So I feel you there.
Yep. Well, Mike, first of all, I want to thank Mike Myers for coming on. I know this is a sports show, but I felt the need to make this show a little bit more important than just basketball. And I've been given the platform to do that, and I will continue to do that. Of course, I want to thank you as being my co-host. This has been kind of a tough show to do because it brings back memories. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Next week we have the great Chops Turner, and that should be a little bit of a different thing as well. And we have some tremendous guests coming on in the future. I won't say anything. You got to tune in. But again, Mike, thank you for being my co-host. Thank y'all for tuning in. We will see you next Friday, 5 p.m. live on the Sports Wave Network. Take care. God bless y'all. Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.